Hey there, fight fans. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe this episode of Combat Sports Talk. Welcome to Combat Sports Talk, a podcast dedicated to UFC and Bellator discussion, the MMA community, and combat sports in general. I'm your host, Ryan Smith, and joining me this week is the man with the keys to victory, John Keys.
Oh, hello, everybody. How's it going? What's going on in combat sports world?
All right. And coming to us from a remote location is George G-Money Stalwart.
What it do, baby? I hit DFW Combat Company, man. We moved into our new location.
Oh.
All right,
and
so
changed our name.
Yeah, I was getting ready to say, it sounds like y'all changed your name, DFW Combat Company, huh?
Yeah. So I think that was in line with just showing that we offer a lot more, or we have a lot more variety going on here than just Krav Maga. I think with the name Krav Maga DFW, there was a lot of connotation where people just thought it was a self-defense academy, that kind of thing. They didn't realize that we have a combat sports program, an MMA program, basically, Muay Thai, Jiu-Jitsu, boxing, the whole nine. So part of that name change was in order to allow us to, work that into our brand.
All right.
Beautiful.
All right. Well, coming to us live from Dallas Combat Company, George G-Money Stalwart. I like the noise canceling equipment you got over there. You can't hear the screams of the broken bodies that you just finished breaking.
Exactly, and he's right next to the Trinity too. So he's right down the street from the Trinity. So,
well, let me break protocol right quick and give you just a slight peek at what we got going on here.
All right.
See that?
Okay.
So right over here, right beneath me or below me, you see the ring we have over there. You see our bag area.
The body bags, so right?
Heavy bag.
Okay, there you go.
Yeah. Take place over there.
Heavy.
Right in front of the ring, there's hard to tell, but we got a little, space on the mats for like rolling and or Muay Thai, as well as over here. Right. A lot more mat space. And there's a huge section over to the left of that you can't see as well. But that area there is, again, for Muay Thai and or Jiu-Jitsu. So, yeah. That's basically what we got going on here, man.
All right.
If I want to add in there, because I've been by that place quite a few times. It's in the arts. It's like at the edge of the arts district. It's bigger than actually what that picture shows. It's actually pretty nice, pretty spacious. You can come there if you need to get your cardio in before you go in there. You can run a few laps there, grab a person there that's walking aimlessly. It's like, hey, come on in, and, beat the crap out of them, kill them, throw them in the Trinity. It's all good. It's really nice. I'm telling you, it's just really nice.
It really is, man. I am really, really happy with our new location. I'm enjoying it. Getting to the point where, I'm trying to make it feel like home and finding the different nuances and different things I can do in here that I wasn't able to do at the other gym.
Cool. Well, I think the cool thing about there being a new gym, kind of a new name, to have some better clarity, gives you an opportunity to really go and do something different within the combat community here in Dallas. And so, that makes me think of what's going on in the MMA world. And so this is how we're going to start the show. Normally, we just recap the fights on Saturday night, but we're not. Not today. No. We are also breaking protocol by starting with the headliner, the number one thing I want to talk about this week. So let's get into it. This is the headliner. All right, this is the headliner. This is where we talk about the number one thing I want to talk about this week, and that is an announcement, a breaking news that Ariel Helwani broke about middle point of the week, and that is that there was a new MMA promotion that's on tap to launch sometime in 2023, and it goes by the name of the World Fighting League, WFL. Okay, so what is this? Why is this different from the PFL, which is the Professional Fighting League, or the UFC, or Bellator, or ONE FC, and all this kind of stuff? It's because this fight league is run by former MMA fighters, number one. Number two, it is a non-profit organization. And number three, the payment of fighters will be more in line with what you find from a NFL or NBA perspective, where fighter pay is a function of the fighter pay is a percentage of revenues for the promotion. So it's going to probably get them closer to a 50-50 split organizational revenue versus fighter revenue. And what we know for sure is that when you start looking at Bellator and some of these other ones, there could be it's more of a 65-35, or even the UFC, which I think is like 80-20 split or something like that, where the promotion makes the majority of the money and the fighters get a smaller portion. So the profit sharing between the fighters and the actual promotion is going to be one of those things that's really going to test whether or not fighter pay and being fair to fighters is actually a model that can work in combat sports. Now, here's what makes this also different. What makes it different as well is that with the WFL, you don't fight as an individual. You fight as a part of a team. And these teams have 24 athletes on them. There are 3 fighters per weight classes. There are 8 weight classes in the league. And they are going to have four conferences. There'll be North America, South America, Europe, Africa, and North America, South America, Europe and Africa, and then Asia. So that gives you Europe and Africa are together, Asia and Oceania, which includes your New Zealand and Australia, North America, of course, and then South America. So those are your 4 conferences. There will be each conference will have 8 teams and no more than 24. So this is built to house a lot of fighters. And so what I like about this is that now you're going to have a gym, if you will. We always talked about how cool would it be to have, American Kickboxing Academy or American Top Team fight Jackson Winklejohn or TriStar or, one of the Brazilian gyms. Now we're going to see how that works out because we're going to have that opportunity to see what happens there. So a lot more to come, but I want to get your initial reaction on this concept of fight teams having conferences almost like you do in NFL or in the NBA.
Oh, okay. I'll let you do it first, George. I'll let you go.
Here you go, George.
I'm all for it. I'm over here in my head. I got my phone out now trying to figure out some logistics on it because we're looking at 24 athletes per team, a minimum of 8 teams. In each conference, what is it? 3 fighters per weight class. Like, it sounds very interesting, man. I'm really looking forward to see this and how it's going to play out. It's especially considering the format that they've got lined up with the teams. And then you got to remember things happen, like fighters switch camps. Fighters go train with different coaches. Hell, I think of some fighters I know from New Zealand and from overseas who come to America and train here under a different coach or whatever, even though they got their original coach back in New Zealand or in Australia or whatever, man. So it's going to be, I could definitely see some tensions and things building that this organization is going to be able to play off of and have some storylines too. Because I think that's one of the things that the UFC has done well is they've allowed fighters' stories to come to the forefront, and therefore we get involved in the fighter because we know his or her story.
All right, John Keys, what do you think?
I agree with George. There's going to be a lot of beef going on around that because they do train different camps. I mean, and on top of that, different camps got beef with different camps. I mean, I would love to see Shooter Box take on ATT, all right, because they got beef there. I want to see, fighters from Henry Hoof's heart, what was it, 360 versus the Black Zillions, because I think the Black Zillions are still there. Okay, we still got Jackson Winklejohn versus everybody. We still have what was it? what was Dillashaw? What, Bang Elevate Bang
Yeah,
versus
yeah, Bang striking systems or something like
versus
that.
Team
Yeah,
Alpha Male. I mean,
yeah.
let's not even play. Let's get Team Alpha Male and Elevation Fight Camp. Let's get them in there first as an inaugural, fight.
Yeah,
Inaugural pay-per-view.
Yeah,
I mean,
here's the thing. I love the idea because now what we are going to get is we're going to get an opportunity to see what's going to happen with having a brand. Like now fighters will be under a particular brand as opposed to how fighters may be under a just their own logo or their own walkout shirt. Now you've got branded walkout shirts. So, for me, I'm a big NFL fan, Philadelphia Eagles. Hey, I wear a Philadelphia Eagles jersey. Now you have a fight camp.
Chickens? Isn't that the scary?
They're the scary chickens, yeah. But now you could have a fight brand that is that is the Gladiators out of Florida or something like that, fighting against the Killers out of New York. Like now you've got brands because each of these franchises that'll be fighting in this WFL will have an opportunity to brand themselves, and that creates new sponsorships and new ways of being able to generate revenue outside of things like pay-per-view and ticket dollars and things like that. The question that I have though.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So here's the question. I'm gonna follow up with one more question, and that is this. But is there room? Are they too late to the game? Because you've got the UFC, which has finger quotes, the greatest fighters in the world. You've got Bellator. You've got PFL, which have great fighters. You've got ONE FC. You've got these regional promotions. Like, are there enough fighters out there to fill this up with fighters that casual fans are going to want to watch?
I think so, because they're pulling from the talent pool around the world. They're not just focused in one particular area. I think that's one of the mistakes that a lot of these promotions haven't overcome yet. If you're fighting in Bellator, other than maybe some of the Brazilians that come here, and what happens is most people congregate to wherever those promotions are. Whereas with the UFC is more worldwide. They travel, they put on shows in different places. I can't think of the last time I heard of Bellator putting on a show overseas, other than I think England sometime recently. I've never heard of PFL traveling to do their shows or whatever. Combate America, I think they float between Texas, Arizona, and maybe one or two other places. One Championship does most of their shows over in Malaysia. So I think with pulling these fighters and teams from different places, they're going to be able to play with where fights get to happen and take place. That in itself is going to build in your crowd. That in itself is going to build in your viewership. And it's also going to allow, like you said, some different sponsorship opportunities, because you're traveling to different parts of the world, or you're pulling talent from different areas of the world.
And also, to add on to what George says, that now we're at a level now that we're going to get exposed to new fighters from all over the world. We've heard about these fighters. We've heard about the Rotangs, which we'll talk about much more later. We've heard about the different fighters from ONE, and people are like, well, who are these people? If this goes down correctly, or in my mind how I'm thinking it's going to go down, which it will be an eye opener. If anything, this should make Bellator, this should make UFC, this should make all those guys, all those promotions, the big promotions, a little nervous, but the smaller promotions, they should be like, how can we get in on this? Okay, because this is the time now. We're making leagues now. We're making teams of fighters, which if you've been watching anything over in Europe and Russia where they have the team fights and everything, the 5-on-5s, it's not going to be like that, but they kind of got an idea. So think about that. We're going to have instead of a pay-per-view that is two teams in different weight classes just brawling it out. Okay, I'm with that. I am for that. I can see a lot of good things happening with this. the only thing the only bad side is that I think that the promotions like UFC, Bellator, One, all that there will be pushback. I expect Dana White to put extreme pushback on it, but I think other owners may actually try and find a way that they can get in on this and make it happen.
I see it like this, because as you were talking, it really popped in my mind. This is a land grab for the funnel, right? So yes, you have people who come over and who are a just kind of a standout, right? So Paddy Pimblett, we were talking about him a few weeks ago. He was, right. Cage Warriors champion, two division Cage Warriors champion, just like Conor, came into the UFC, and he is the star that that we are wondering whether or not he's going to take the world by storm like Conor McGregor. Right. But here's the thing. We're thinking fight camps, but it's not fight camps. It's promotions. These regional promotions can now battle each other. So not Team Elevation. I'm talking someone like Legacy Fighting Championships. Why wouldn't Legacy Fighting Championships? Why wouldn't they? Because they've got enough fighters on their roster to be able to fill 3 fighters per weight class across 8 weight classes. Why wouldn't they buy a franchise into World Fighting Championships and own the brand, which gets their regional promotion out, and they've got these fighters here? This is something that could potentially be a play for the funnel, because at this point, if you're able to move from your regional promotions to joining the team in World Fighting Championships, then the funnel turns from the UFC to World Fighting Championships. And so now the great fighters that come up through these, they are now signed to the league under the banner of these regional promotions. So Cage Warriors would have a franchise because they're based in Europe. Legacy would have a franchise, and they're based here in the United States. And so now you start seeing that if they have this relationship, you could essentially choke the UFC from being able to get that top talent.
So in other words, you're saying that the UFC would be like the 90s Chicago Bulls in this franchise, and they're going up against like the Detroit Pistons in One FC.
No, so I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that the UFC won't want to have anything to do with it. And so right now, because of the strength of the brand of the UFC has choice pickings on all of the other best fighters coming out of all the regional promotions in the United States, in Brazil and things like that. But if you've got an organization that can build a relationship with some of these other regional brands, then what happens is your feeder system goes from regional promotion, and then cream of the crop goes to the UFC, to regional promotion, to a league that will bring more money into the regional promotions because they own a franchise.
But wouldn't that, and I see it now, but wouldn't that play to UFC to try and involve with them rather than try and stay their own island?
Well, you see, the UFC has created a walled garden, right? So the UFC does not do crossover promotions. UFC does not play well in the sandbox with other people. But what we know is we know that Scott Coker, for instance, has played well with other people. So it's very possible that Bellator could buy a franchise into World Fighting League, and some of their mid-tier fighters could actually go and fight in World Fighting League, which elevates the Bellator brand, but also allows Bellator to take advantage in this marketplace of fighters.
Nice.
So what it ends up happening is, and here's the cool thing: if you sign up with if you sign up with WFL, you're going to get 50-50 revenue share. We talked about guaranteed contracts, health insurance, career-ending insurance, and a pension plan.
So who's not jumping on?
So why wouldn't these promotions especially the regional ones. So maybe Bellator is too big, and Bellator is going to try to go the way of the UFC and create a walled garden. But at the same time, you've got some of these regional promotions that aren't necessarily big enough to get the visibility, that now all they need to do, and I'm using Legacy because Legacy fights sometimes here in Allen, is, Legacy will could potentially be the Legacy Gladiators. I keep using that thing, and it's Legacy fighters signed to Legacy contracts, but now they're fighting against other promotions. Maybe there's one in what's that one that you were up in Detroit, George? Maybe they have
WXC.
Yeah.
Or
so
another promotion here out of Arkansas, Peak. I get what you're saying.
So it's not just
my thought process immediately goes to how would the regional promotions benefit financially? So we've heard you talk about how the fighters are going to benefit in that there's a 50-50 revenue sharing. So I'm assuming that other 50% is going towards the WFL. Where is the regional promotions opportunity to get a piece of the pie?
Well, I think it's going to be, if they're going to follow the model of the NBA, the NHL, the NFL, then having a franchise means that now you've got a venue where you're going to host these fights, because there's going to be home and away, right? That you will also have the ability to brand your fighters with your colors, and then sell merchandise for that. You begin to treat it more like a sports franchise. We've got a wonderful model, and pardon me while I throw up in my mouth a minute, but the Dallas Cowboys are the greatest model of what you can do with an individual franchise when you build a base that people care about. People already care about legacy fighting championships. People already care about Peak, but they're not necessarily wearing the LFA or LFC or Peak gear. They're not wearing the fight kit, if you will. They're not wearing the hats and things like that the way they could if Peak had a franchise and had 24 fighters that are fighting other promotions. It's going to elevate their promotion, get you a feeder system to all of these aspiring fighters, and now you're able to drive them towards something that continues to create elevation for your regional promotion, but also now the fighters who are attached to it. I want to jump in right here and say, Bruce Bobchotter, he's like, Bjorn Rebney needs to run this. Now, of course, Bjorn Rebney used to run Bellator until he left and Scott Coker took over. But perhaps that's a great person who has experience fighting, who's experienced running a promotion. And it says that it's going to be made up of, kind of MMA insiders and former fighters and things like that. So I think there's huge opportunity for something like this to be great.
Yes. Whether
or not they're going to have enough seed funding to be able to make the promotional experience similar to that of the UFC to get people to watch. Whether or not they're going to be able to get the distribution that PFL has so that people are going to be able to catch it on television. Whether or not they're going to have enough money to be able to turn this into a true league, because XFL tried and it didn't work out, partially because of COVID. Let me just put it out there. XFL tried it twice and it didn't work out. You had the American Football League, right? That was supposed to be, or the USA Football League that didn't make it. Setting up a brand new promotion, a brand new league is very, very difficult. And so given the fact that there's so much fighting that's out there now, it's possible that this is a great idea that's a little too late. So I can't wait to watch.
I think this will work for the simple fact that we still, for as many fighters, for many promotions that we have out there, there is still that, what if this fighter fight this fighter? Okay. So, I mean, that's what I want to see. I want to see a team funded by one versus a team funded by Bellator, for instance, or even any team funded, going up against a team funded by the UFC to finally prove the hype, okay, that we talk about, that they are the creme de la creme. Okay, I would love to see other teams still looking for that for that monster team from Shoot the Box. But I understand that we can't get it, okay, under this model. Just saying, we'd love to see it because Shoot the Box don't play. All right, Shoot the Box don't play.
Well, I will say this. When we're talking about monsters, there were monsters on display on Saturday night, and that was UFC Vegas 37. This is the official decision. All right, this is the official decisions. This is where we talk about the fights on Saturday night. There were 6 fights on the card. First fight of the night was Antonio Arroyo versus Joaquin Buckley. Now, Joaquin Buckley is like this guy. How do we not get excited about Joaquin Buckley? Because this is the dude that has the knockout of the year in 2020. Basically, gets his leg caught, spins around, throws a head kick, and knocks the dude out. He has been finishing folks. I think he's like on a 5-fight win streak, all of them by finishes, and he finishes Antonio Arroyo via knockout at 226 of round number 3.
Murder.
Yeah.
I think he's not getting his due because a lot of us do MMA math, and he got manhandled by Trailblazer. I think a lot of people don't have their eye on Joaquin as much now. You get what I'm saying? It's like,
Right,
okay, Trailblazer stole the thunder that he could have possibly had, even though his spinning kick knockout, I think, came after he lost to Trailblazer. So
it did. It was the revenge fight.
Yeah. So it's a crazy thing because in this fight, I want to say Antonio Arroyo was a taller, longer fighter. He was landing some big kicks on Joaquin Buckley, keeping him at distance, threw a flying knee that created a huge subdural hematoma on his on Joaquin Buckley's head, and Joaquin was able to find the strike that really caught Antonio Arroyo right behind the ear, that little bone right behind the ear, and that was all she wrote. He goes down, Buckley swarms, and gets the finish at 226 in round number 3. In the next fight of the night, Tony Gravely lost to Nate Maness. Now, Nate Maness was a tall dude from Kentucky, tall, skinny dude, and I want to say that Maness was like landing the huge strikes early, but at the end of the first round, Tony Gravely throws a huge right hook, catches Maness on the jaw, and Maness gets set down, almost finished. He was saved by the bell, and at that point, you're like, oh, Gravely going to win this fight. Gravely comes out in the second round. Maness is like, okay, I have to do something because this dude is throwing bombs for real because he thinks he's going to finish this fight. And Maness was still touching Gravely, gets a nice little, I want to call it like a check hook or something like that, but throws an uppercut, sit Gravely's down. Next thing you know, this fight goes from being squarely in Tony Gravely's hand at the end of the first round to being Nate Maness for the win. And Nate Maness wins this fight at 2 minutes, 10 seconds in round number 2. It was an unbelievable come from behind, weathering adversity, all of that kind of stuff.
So he was winning until he wasn't.
Yeah. Tony Gravely was winning until he wasn't. And it was like, wow, how quickly can a fight get out? You know, how quickly can you lose a fight? Because you're thinking, I'm going to win this fight. He wasn't gassed. He was looking great. And then all of a sudden, he left himself open and caught it right in the face, got an uppercut right in the face, and that was it. Arman Tsarukyan defeated Christos Giagos via knockout in round number 1, 2 minutes, 9 seconds. This one, these guys are big, man. What's crazy is that it's 155 pounds, but they look like 185. I mean, they look really big. And Tsarukyan just clips Christos Giagos, and that's all she wrote. Didn't take very long at all.
Yeah, it looked like he just stunned him right in, I don't know if it was in the eye or the forehead, but wherever button he hit, it was like the emergency reset button because he shut down real quick. Okay,
yeah.
And he just came in and just started blasting him for it. So
absolutely. Fighting at 125 pounds, Mandy Bone faced off against Ariane Lipski, and Lipski just put on a clinic. Man, you know, Holly Holm is a great fighter. I don't know if the Holly Holm knockoff in Mandy Bone can show what what Holly is able to do, because at the end of the day, Ariane Lipski just put in some work, cleaned her out. So remember, you want home branded fighters, not bone branded fighters. If it starts with a B, you don't want it.
He is cracking himself up today, I see.
I'm filling my Cheerios, as my mom would say. Yes, I am. In the co-main event, you had Devin Clark facing off against the Hulk, Ion Cutelaba. You know, we've been calling him Eon, which I've been proud of, because at least we weren't calling him Ion. But I listened to the announcers, and they're calling him. There's a W somewhere between the I, the O, and the N. So somewhere there's a W sound. So Ion Cutelaba defeated Devin Clark via unanimous decision. Now this fight came with a little bit of bad blood, because of course, you know, Ion Cutelaba likes to kind of get in your face. He likes to, you know, try to intimidate you. And so Devin Clark was like, I'm not having any of that. I'm not scared of this dude. Maybe he should be. Maybe he should be.
Nah, I'm not going to disagree, because explain why, Mr. Smith. Go ahead.
Well, here's the deal. Ion Cutelaba was able to get this fight to the ground, get to full mount, and just start dropping bombs. First round. Like, if you go back, I encourage any of you who can hear the sound of my voice, who can see us on YouTube, go back, find this fight. If you want to see what a 10-8 round looks like, watch the first 5 minutes of this fight. Because this is where Ion Cutelaba, he's winning on the feet. He's able to get this fight to the ground early, and he is just sitting on top in mount, raining bombs down. The only reason why this fight wasn't stopped is because every time the ref said, Devin, you've got to move, Devin would turn, he would move, he would do something, he would try to get up. Ion wouldn't let that happen, though. Like, it was just, there was not a lot that he could do. It's just that Devin was still intelligently defending himself, which kept him in the fight. But it was dominant. Like, at one point it was 44-11 significant strikes, and all of it is Ion Cutelaba dropping bombs and elbows and things like that. I don't exactly know when the I don't know what you would call it, the blunt force trauma happened, but
would you explain it a little bit better than this, sir? Can we get a little clarity, sir?
So at one point in the butt whipping that Ion Cutelaba put on Devin Clark, the bottom teeth of Devin Clark got rearranged. It was so bad that even Michael Bisping, who was doing color, was like, man, that's even worse than British teeth. like that's how bad it is, that Michael Bisping is like, that's some messed up teeth. He goes, that's messed up teeth, and I'm British. Like, at that point, you know how bad it is. And so it's funny. It's like, Bruce is in the comments. Bruce Bobtrotter's in the comments saying, you know, is the WFL going to provide a dental plan? Because that, right now, Devin Clark is in need of seeing a dentist. And the fact is that having a $1 million smile, you never thought that you were going to have to get your teeth rearranged in order to get $1 million smile. That's what it is.
And that right there, that is broken and destroyed. Good luck on a reconstruction surgery on that. I've actually broken. I've had my bottom row here broken from a punch, and the root canal and reconstruction that happened after that was not fun. So my man is in. He thinks he knows pain. He's about to find out. That's some serious pain he's about to go through. Yeah, but miracle of modern technology. This happened back in the 80s. This is the 2020s. I think technology will save them.
Yeah, it looks like the broken teeth happened in the second round because it didn't get any better in the second round. Like Cutelabra was back in mount at the beginning of the second round. He was able to do a lot of damage. Unfortunately for the judges, for some reason, they gave Devin Clark the third round. I'm assuming. I haven't seen the fight cards, but every one of these, the only one judge gave Iwan Cutelabra all 3 rounds. The other 2 gave Devin Clark a round. And I don't know how you can be manhandled for a 10-8 round in the first round, beaten up in the second round, flinged around the ring in the third round, and somehow because you showed this much offense after you've been smashed up that you should win a round. I just don't see it. It should have been 30-26 on all 3 cards. But shout out to Devin Clark. Shout out to Devin Clark for surviving.
Yeah, I'm sorry for cutting you off like that. I can explain how you got that. It's because you never leave it in the hands of the judges. Okay?
Right?
Never, ever, ever leave it in the hands of the judges. Oh, is that drinkable? Was that a drinkable moment? Oh, my bad.
I don't know.
Everybody, new cup.
You got a new cup. You got the Batman big boy. And speaking of big boys, in the main event of the evening, Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann. Anthony Smith went in quick work. Like, it didn't take long. Anthony Smith was just like, blip, blip, blip. You had Ryan Spann staggering around the ring to just like jabs and just short hooks and things like that. He goes down, gets choked out, and Smith wins via submission, rear naked choke, 347 in round number 1. And he then stands over Ryan Spann yelling, "Where's that butt whipping now?" And so it was one of those things where it was really uncharacteristic of Anthony Lionheart Smith to win a fight and not walk to his ring, and walk to his corner of the ring, but instead stand over the dude yelling, "Where's my butt whipping now? Where's my butt whipping now?" Which ended up sending security into the ring. They had to be split apart. And then Ryan Spann's like, "Yo, I'm cool. If he's cool, I'll go and shake his hand." And they were able to shake hands, give the the sportsmanship hug and all that kind of stuff, and then go to opposite corners. But it was so bad that Anthony Smith was so hot about this that you couldn't even hear the post-fight interview with Michael Bisping. It was just like, "Oh, so, what happened there, Anthony Lionheart Smith? What happened after the fight that caused all the security to run in?" And Anthony Lionheart Smith was like, "Well, let me tell you." And it was all muted out. You couldn't hear a word he was saying. He's just like, you're reading his lips. You can see that his lips did form the F position. So we know that some words that were being used probably should be edited out. But who knows what he had to say? They had to go and interview him a little bit later when he had a chance to cool off. But it all comes down to respect. People don't respect Anthony Lionheart Smith, and because of that, he's pretty hot about it.
Well, so can we say that Superman met his kryptonite on that fight?
You could say that, yes.
We can say, okay, so with Lionheart, it's not like he's not, jumping any of our men or any of our co-hosts or anything like that. It's not like he ever tried to do that.
Where is KC when you need him?
Everything about Lionheart shows that he's always remained cool, calm, and, everything like that. But something that Spann said actually lit him up because he came in aggressive. He literally jumped in the ring and got real active after the bell. So if that's what it takes for Lionheart to get back in the game, for them to put some respect on his name, go ahead and beat them just like that every time and look over them, Lionheart. Look over them. And then at the end, he actually, since he's been in the commentator's booth, he knows who to call out. And guess what? He called them out. It was Alexander Rakic. And Rakic said, "I'm free in December." And that's why I was like, "Oh my goodness, that's what I'm talking about."
Look, I'm over here like, where's KC when you need him? Factory X shout out, drink. Where's John Jones when you need him? John should have been showing him like, this is the butt whooping you should have been out to that guy that broke in your house. You know, there's just several things you could go at over
Oh,
here.
oh,
But
oh.
to see to see Anthony that animated and that emotional about something, I think it's good for his career. I think that's one of the things that can really turn Anthony's marketability around. He's good on the mic. He's a good looking dude. He fights well. He's got all these things going for him, but he hasn't found that niche to make him a top tier fighter other than winning. But I think this is it. I think we an authentic Anthony Smith there, and how could you not do anything but love it?
Yeah, I agree. You know, I'm reading the quote that they were able to get from him later, and he was like, you know, you can't say that you can't say that you don't care about what I've done. He's like, I've earned the respect of my peers. He says, I put in a lot of work into this game. This dude is over 50 fights, right? Like, you know,
Yeah.
a fighter in MMA, specifically in the UFC, they would love to get to 30 fights. This guy's at 50 fights. You know what I'm saying? And so he's like, I sacrificed my entire adult life to be here, to be in this position where I'm sitting now. That's time with my kids. That's friendships. It's life opportunities. I could have been a surgeon by now. I put a lifetime of work into this, and most of my peers respect me. That's all I ask. He goes, but you don't have to like me. You don't have to get along. We don't have to be friends. You can think you're going to kick my butt, and sometimes you might, but I think just respecting my journey is the only thing I ever expect from anybody. And that was the comments that Ryan Spann really was disrespecting and disrespecting that journey, saying what he's going to do to Anthony Lionheart Smith. And that's all that gets you is choked out in the center of the ring in the first round.
Well, see, exactly, and that's because he looks so young. You look at Anthony Smith, you're like, and just like, you know, my girlfriend, like that's a kid. I'm like, that dude is not a kid. He's seen some things. Okay, he has seen some things. He is literally. I mean, Lionheart is very befitting of this of his fighting, because he literally has went up and down, and you know, and he's where he is for a reason. You may not, like you say, you may not like the dude, but you gotta respect him.
Well, this is the thing that I love about Anthony Lionheart Smith, is the fact that when you look at him and he's sitting behind the commentator desk or whatever, he's in a suit. He looks like just a normal, nice dude, kind of nerdy looking, you know. And then when he's walking to the ring and he's got the shirt off, all you see is just like tats. Like he's like, it's like prison tats, because you know it's not a cohesive. You know how some of those guys have kind of a cohesive piece that's the both sleeves, maybe all the chest. You get this whole nice. No, his is like a smattering of tattoos that mean just different things. It's like, dude, that guy has seen some things in his life. Like, let's pump the brakes a little bit. Let's not just get all into Anthony Lionheart Smith, think that, you know, he's just some pushover. Like, my question for both of you guys is, who would pick against Anthony Lionheart Smith? Who would do such a thing?
Those people that do not understand.
You zoned out for a minute.
With the
Can
guy
you repeat that question?
Go ahead.
I asked, who would pick against Anthony Lionheart Smith?
And I would say, you picked against him. Yeah, eat some of that. Eat some of that. So he don't understand, ladies and gentlemen, that he's the dude that will pick against a guy that says, "Oh, I used to box," and wears all baggy clothes. Okay, you don't pick against that guy, because when he takes some baggy clothes off, you're gonna see that he got abs on top of abs. Have you ever seen a dude with a 4-pack on top of a 6-pack?
No, I don't.
That has
no.
a 6-pack on his back.
No,
Have you ever
I don't.
Seen that dude?
I'm not connected to those OnlyFans sites. Tell me about it.
I knew you were going there.
I
was waiting on that reference.
Oh my goodness! I was actually referencing Baki the Grappler, the anime, but that's a totally different story. All right, but yes. God,
we get a Combat Sports Talk OnlyFans page started.
Man, don't do that. Don't do that.
Dude,
y'all just
well, it'd be you on it, George.
There you go. Look at George with the tank top showing the gun show. Oh, okay. You know, I'm surprised. I'm surprised he didn't pick up that cup and was like, throwing throwing some bicep action. I can't because I ain't got no biceps. But,
yeah. I just the thing is you basically be George with all the ripped abs and muscles, and then a bunch of cannonballs between you, me, and Kalechi.
Hey, I'm happy with my ab. Okay, I am very happy with my ab. As a matter of fact, I've actually developed a second. So
catch me 2 months from now and see what my body looks like then.
see, I'm gonna tell you like this.
Wait till I can get back on my regular meal plan.
Hey, John Keys, see, you got an ab, but see, I've got a Florida ab. You know what a Florida ab is?
What's that?
I got a FLAB. That's right. I got flab.
Y'all in these dad jokes, boy.
Yeah, that's right. I got the flab, man. That's a Florida ab right there. Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm happy. It actually came out because it was after the surgery I had. Actually, I was like, hey, look at this. I was like, oh my God, there's a second one. So I was happy with that. And I'm happy with it now. So one day I may show it, but
all right,
be not safe for work.
Yeah, that's right. It'll be the Combat Sports Talk calendar, 2037. Right? We can get there, guys.
Like, in the draw me like your French girl pose. Is that what we're doing?
All right. Well, let's go ahead and close the book on this one and put this card on the shelf. Now let's get into the headlines that are making waves in the UFC world with Finding the Angles. All right, this is Finding the Angles. This is where we talk about the fights or not the fights, but the headlines that are making waves in the MMA world. This is where, as I was thinking about it, for those of you who are listening, perhaps these are things that you have missed that are headlines that are worth talking about. And so one of the things, because you know that I'm the biggest homer when it comes to Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson. Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson has a special rules fight against Muay Thai champ Rod Tang. And so we talk about Muay Thai a little bit on the show. One of us has a certain affinity for it. It's this guy right here in the tank top. And so my favorite fighter against one of his favorite fighters are going to clash on December 5th in a special rules fight. Round 1 and round 3 are going to be Muay Thai only. Round 2 and round 4 are going to include elements of MMA. And so therefore, the question is, can Rod Tang get Demetrius Johnson out in the first round, or are we just going to watch him watch DJ choke out Rod Tang in the second? That's what I want to know. Not going to go past 2 rounds.
Wow. I don't know.
I would tend to agree with you. Unless Rod Tang has really been training his wrestling and jiu-jitsu, I don't see how he's going to make it out of the second round against Mighty Mouse, other than if he can somehow prevent Mighty Mouse from laying hands on him or actually grabbing him. I mean,
yeah,
I see nothing but pain in this.
Yeah, I just don't see that, because I mean, is Mighty Mouse an elite kickboxer? No, he's not. I think he's going to get pieced up and touched up in the first round. The question is whether or not Rod Tang is going to be thinking about, I got to get this fight over in the first round. Because what we know about true Muay Thai practitioners is that the first round is often spent as a feeling out period. And so if he's looking for distance, and if he's trying to check to see what's open and what's not, so that he can kind of turn it up, that is going to play in the hands of Demetrius Johnson, because we know that Demetrius has great wrestling, great grappling, the clinch that might happen on the cage when you can drop levels and take a guy's legs out from under him. It's going to be very interesting to see whether or not we're going to, and there's so much you can do on the ground, from arm bars to, to Kimuras to, rear naked chokes to, there's so much that Demetrius Mighty Mouse Johnson is elite at, that when it becomes MMA, I don't think it's going to fare well for Rod Tang.
There is one way, and that's if he reverse wrestles. Like Chuck Liddell's style, because Chuck Liddell, he would often say that what he would do reverse wrestling, which is he would do everything. Once a person gets him on the ground, it was his mission to get back up to a standing position and continue fighting that way. And that may be the only way that you can probably neutralize Demetrius.
The only problem with that is that Chuck Liddell was an NCAA Division I wrestler.
Yeah.
Saying that.
Yeah.
Rod Tang, I'm looking forward to seeing it. December 5th can't come fast enough because I want to see what he's going to be able to do.
Let's see what Rod Tang's pedigree is.
I think
he's gonna say, you know what, for this fight, we're gonna forego that that filling out process, and we're just gonna come in and try and kill this man. So yeah, I feel bad for Demetrius, but I
can't imagine Demetrius not having the strategy to get this to the second round. So I would disengage. I'd stay quick, stay away, and make it to the second round because it's so much harder to kick somebody when they don't want to engage. But grabbing somebody by the leg, pushing them up against the cage, and then seeing what happens, I think that perhaps Demetrius is going to be able to get this fight to the ground. You know what I was going to say, and so is when you said, "What is Rod Tang's pedigree?" I was going to say, I think he's a black belt in Brazil in Muay Thai.
Dude, I'm not even going to jump.
I wasn't going to say. I'm not going to say it.
He has fought 319 fights.
I think you've seen a few things.
Draw of 267, 42, and 10.
That's almost George's record.
I know. Right?
Whatever.
minus the 42 and 10. Okay.
Right. Still undefeated.
Oh my God, this man is a murderer.
Yeah, he is. And so this is why I think at first I was like, I don't really want to watch this fight, except for the fact that it's Demetrius Johnson. But now it's interesting because I see the rules. Like now there's a chess game here. There's a strategy.
Hold on. Wait. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just noticed something that just my eyes almost fell out when I saw it. You know, I've heard about Rod Tang for several years, long as we've been doing this at least. And I just realized when this dude was born. This dude was born in 1997. Dude's only 24 years old. And he has 319 fights under him. Say no, Demetrius. Say no. Just say,
it's too late.
Dude, I'm done. I'm good. My legs, my body, everything hurts all of a sudden. Okay, I'm good. I don't even... No, man. No. 324. 319 fights. My goodness.
Wow.
He came out the womb kicking people. Oh, my goodness. He literally kicked the doctor. He needed the nurse. You know? He clinched his mama.
Need the nurse.
I was like, hold on, wait, whoa.
Yeah, his mom didn't have a placenta. She had a heavy bag is what she had.
Exactly. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Hold on. He was fighting officially they're saying he was fighting at the age of 8. Okay. And oh my goodness. And then at the age of 14, he moved to Bangkok to join the current gym he's been with.
Wow.
He was fighting tigers and king cobras at 8, man.
Man, that's insane. Yeah, I'm not happy about that.
Wow.
But you know what else I'm not happy about?
What's that?
That Davidson Figueiredo and Brandon Moreno have just been booked. December 11th, the trilogy is on. First fight ended in a draw. The second fight ended in a first round submission victory by Brandon Moreno. And now Davidson Figueiredo is like, no, I want to roll that back. And they're going to run it back one more time. I feel like if you get choked out in the first round, you don't just get back into the championship fight. You got to go fight somebody else. That's a submission that you lost to. This wasn't like a flash knockout. This was you lost via submission.
And on top of that, you lost via submission, and you are a high-level Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt from Brazil. You got choked out by a guy from Factory X. Drink.
Oh.
So, just saying.
So yeah, the fact that they put this fight back on the cards, I guess the fans want to see it. I'm definitely going to watch it because I like Brandon Moreno and I like Davis and Figueiredo. I just don't think that should be the very first title defense for Brandon Moreno. You know, is this going to be one of those situations where it's like, how many Davis and Figueiredo, we're going to keep fighting him versus Brandon Moreno until Brandon loses? Like, let's not do this.
Well, it's one of those things that there was a lot of energy going on, okay, between these two fighters. So why not strike while the iron's hot? You know, if he wins, he wins. If he doesn't, you know what? Shut him up and move him along. Because if Davison does win, I do see a 4 coming. So if Brandon's up to fighting him, let him go ahead and have it. I agree with you. You submitted. You said I give up. You didn't pass out or anything like that. Because if you choked out and you went to sleep, I would say, okay, give him another fighting chance because he wasn't done to quit. But you quit.
You quit I disagree with you on the last part.
Name. Huh?
I disagree with you on the last part. Once you get submitted, you're submitted, dude. Like,
no,
go to sleep or tap out.
Pass out. If you pass out without giving up, you know that's it. You can, like, okay, he was still warrior born, but you gave up so hard that you changed your name, dog. Okay, that should be enough right there.
See, I got you. I just don't agree with you. I would much rather say I tapped to live to fight another day than the other guy says I shut the lights out. Like, I left you sleeping on the canvas. Why do I need to fight you again? Had I held on, you would not even exist in this world. I let you live. That's basically what I would be telling you right now. It's like, no, you tapped, you quit, you gave up, I had you. Yeah, this is still a sport. No, I let you live. You exist on this world because of my generosity. That's where I am if you let it go to sleep.
Okay, at that point I throw chairs. Okay.
No, this is like taking Kamaru Usman and where he goes, I broke your face. Like, I broke your face. That takes it to another level.
You had to say it slow too. I broke your face. Look him dead in the eye. I broke your face. Like, he doesn't. You really don't understand.
So let me put you in a chokehold and you go to sleep. That's where I'm saying your kids have a parent, have a dad, because I let them have a dad. Like, that's where I'm at. So no. For me, I'm tapping every time because I'm not even going to give you the satisfaction of saying that to me. Like, you're just not.
I can hear it. I can feel that. I feel that. I mean, literally, when you were saying it, I'm like, this is just a hypothetical. But when I said I'd throw chairs at that point, I was really saying if we were across the table, that's chairs coming off from under me. Okay, and I'm throwing it. You know.
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't like how you said this. Okay.
So why do you think Kelechi was trying so hard to get me to fight one more time? Like, this is the trash talk that Kelechi had to deal with.
Drink.
For years. Yeah, it is a drink. It is a drink. I'm referencing the fight between me and Kelechi. Here we go. I don't actually have anything in my cup. I keep forgetting to bring something to drink.
Trust me, I can drink for the both of us.
But yeah. Oh, by the way, when we were asking about where Kelechi was, I did text him that ask him if he was still in witness protection, given the fact that Anthony Smith choked out Ryan Spann. I was like, "Are you still in witness protection?"
Yeah, he should be the way Anthony was. Great.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. We know Davison Figueiredo as Diaz de Guerra, right? God of War. But they've got him listed as Daiko, and that started a search for John and I to start really asking, like, where does Daiko come from? Do you want to talk a little bit about that, John?
Yeah, I can. All right, so just a couple things. All right, first of all, there is an influence of Japanese culture in Brazil. All right, as you can see in jiu-jitsu and everything like that. However, let's look at Davison Figueiredo, and for him, he's had a lot of jobs. Okay, he was a bricklayer, he was a security guard, he was a fisherman, he was a hairdresser, he was a motorcycle taxi driver. But the one thing that we're gonna put out is he was a sushi chef. Okay. And from there we were like, well, if that is so, let's look at the Japanese side of it. What does daiko come from? Well, it comes from daikon. All right. If you look at daikon, it's spelled differently. In Portuguese, K is C. Okay, they're very literal, except in a couple of instances about how their pronunciations are. In daikon in Japanese, the if you Americanize it, it's K. Daikon stands for drum. So we're thinking that daikon, which is K in Portuguese, is a play on daikon, which is drum. His name is Davison the Drum Figueredo, which I guess he's implying that he's going to beat on some people or something, or they're going to beat on him. I don't know at this point.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm interested now to find out where this drum idea comes from, because then you could think of, okay, God of War and drum. Maybe he will beat someone like a drum. Maybe it's the war drums of the God of War. Maybe, it's an interesting thing. So in so much as I'm not happy with Davison Figueredo being the first fight after Brandon Moreno wins the title, I do like Davison Figueredo because of the fact that he has done so much to get to where he is. I mean, being a fisherman, being a hairdresser, they were showing him video of him actually styling hair and stuff like that. Like, this guy has done everything it takes to get to the spot where he's at, and you gotta applaud that. You gotta respect that. I mean, this is what Anthony Smith is talking about, right? Like, this is what I have done, the sacrifices that I have made to put me in a position to fight for a title someday. And Davison Figueredo, as a bricklayer and a security guard and a fisherman and a motorcycle taxi driver, has done just that. And I can't help but love that guy because of that story.
And plus, his Instagram is so funny. It really is. His Instagram is awesome. Yeah, I mean, this is a guy that he should just name himself Everyman, because he's done it all. But that's the sacrifice. You work hard work, and courage. That's all you got in life in order to get where you want, to do what you love. It takes hard work and courage, which we do have a shout out about that later. We will talk more about that later.
All right. Well, talking about taking courage and hard work and things like that. Sometimes you're not always successful. True. And so when you're not successful and you make some bad decisions, how do you bounce back? And that's kind of where the combat sports world is really asking that of Triller, because Triller, of course, we talked about Triller last week, had planned to put Oscar De La Hoya versus Vitor Belfort in a ring. Of course, Oscar De La Hoya came down with COVID-19. So Evander Holyfield, 1 week before his 60th birthday, decided to step into the cage, or into the ring. Sorry, octagon cage ring, the boxing ring against Vitor Belfort. And the fact is that nobody really wanted to see that. They pulled 150,000 buys on pay-per-view. Now, just to get a sense of how much that is, that's about $7.5 million. And the fact is, because it's boxing, and because of the fact that, they were paying pretty hefty purses for each one of these fighters, it's likely that they are going to have massive losses because of the fact that no one wanted to see that fight. It was so bad that their PR company, EAG Sports Management, was like, rage quit. We're done. We're not even gonna back Triller anymore, because they keep putting on these sideshow fights. And so now the question becomes, what does Triller do?
Triller. Okay, so there's a lot of things that were going crazy about this. A lot of people didn't realize that the fights that Triller have been putting on were all exhibition fights. First of all, that was a big point of why this EAG left them, because they were like, we didn't even know that they were doing exhibition fights like that. The sideshow fights, yes, they are still putting them on, because it's one thing to recognize, hey, we ought to put dream fights together. There's a different story when it's doing what they did. They should have never put Evander Holyfield in a fight 10 days against a person like Vitor. And it's not like it was post TRT Vitor. No, this was TRT Vitor they put him in with. His body was like, oh, and I was like, oh my God, the poor Evander Holyfield's going in with that. Because we've seen TRT Vitor. He's a monster. Okay, he is a literal beast. Post TRT Vitor, I've been like, okay, he got a chance. Okay, no, never. Vitor Belfort with TRT equals destruction. Okay, on every level against a man that age.
So here's the question, though. We all know that Evander Holyfield shouldn't have been in the ring. I mean, the fact is that Oscar De La Hoya shouldn't have been in the ring. So whose responsibility is it to protect fighters who are competing past their prime? Great story. I think it was MMA Fighting who posted this. And I think that, it was MMA Fighting Story about who should protect fighters competing past their prime. Ultimately, it came down to a poll that they had at the end of the story, and that's where I want to engage you, George. Who should decide when a fighter should retire? Is it the fighter themselves? Is it the athletic commission? Is it the manager or the coach? Or is it that fighter's family?
Well, retirement definitely should be up to the fighter himself, but the commission, the sanctioning organizations have an obligation to be sure that fights that are being allowed are safe. And as we see, we got a lot of guys skirting, in and out of that area. And one of the ways they're using the skirt is by putting on exhibition fights, things like that. So there's going to have to be some other avenues of people stepping in and making sure that we don't see these kind of things happening anymore. I don't know who could have stopped, this fight between Vitor and Evander. It shouldn't have happened. I think you're right. I think the Oscar De La Hoya fight should never been on as well. But at the same time, as an older fighter myself, I get it. I'm 48, and I'm planning at least 2 fights this year, and looking forward to next year. Who's going to tell me to stop fighting? I feel like I'm more than capable of putting on great performances, dominating my opponents, and being safe. Some other people might not share that same view or perspective of myself as I have. You get what I'm saying? Doesn't mean they're right. Doesn't mean I'm right either. I really don't know who should, be in charge of that, man. Like I said, the commission has a job. Your sanctioning organizations have a job. Outside of that, the next, the next security blanket or the next security level in place is the fighter or his coach.
All right. John Keys, what do you think?
Well, based off my philosophy, a fighter will continue to fight until he can't. The coaches are going to continue to train that said fighter. In my opinion, I do believe it's the athletic commissions that sit there and say, hey, if you can't pass these certain guidelines, if you can't do this, then we can't have you in this organization. We can't sanction a fight for you. George is right. Okay, George is proven is a living proof to me that shows a fighter can still fight past 40. Okay, I applaud him for that. Okay, however, if you're gonna do something like this, you gotta say, all right, put him with a fighter that's closer to his age range, his physical type, and everything like that. That's he should never, Evander Holyfield's fighting a guy that was, for all sakes and purposes, 12 years younger than him, maybe even more. That should have been an Oscar De La Hoya, was 44. Vitor is 42, 44 himself?
Vitor is 44.
Okay, Vitor is 44. They were at the same age. They should have fight. But fighting the man that's almost 60, there is no honor in that. There is no glory in that. Okay, that man should have never. And shame on Triller. Kind of shame on the athletic commission for saying, "Yeah, that'll be great." No, it's not. Fight if Evander Holyfield at 58 was fighting a fighter that was 55. Okay, if they're in the same physical realm of each other, they still look in the same physical shape. Okay, that's a Masters division fight. However,
What?
this was not that.
Well, I think this is what they were attempting to do, even though they failed miserably at it. One, like you said, the age. As far as the discrepancy in the age, I don't necessarily see that as a problem per se.
Mm-hmm.
The problem, I think, what they tried to offset with each other was Vitor was not a boxer. Vitor was an MMA fighter, so therefore he's coming into a boxing match with a deficit, because that's not his skill set per se. Vice
Right.
versa, we would think Evander has the one up on him in that. Evander even made comment of it. He's like, "Hey, this boxing game is this is what I do." That's not what he does. This is my skill set, even at close to 60. So I think they were trying to offset some things, and unfortunately, this matchup just failed horribly at it. I think you're right. I think the Oscar De La Hoya fight probably would have been a little bit more entertaining and a little bit more evenly matched. And matchmakers have to be cognizant of that, and you just never know. We didn't know which Evander Holyfield was going to show up. You know what I'm saying? Evander could have came out there and looked, and he could have came out there and looked deadly. We just never know.
He could have, but we saw the training videos, man.
Yeah, and we saw TRT. We saw TRT Vitor. Okay,
Yeah.
That's it. Okay, TRT Vitor. That's like, if you read the Batman comics when Bane pumped up on that venom and he became super muscular, that's TRT Vitor. Okay, and anybody could go back to videos of TRT Vitor and show that he is a monster on that stuff, dude. Okay, even Chael can attest to that. All right.
Yeah.
Chael knows what it's like.
Yeah. So does Michael Bisping. I mean, it's just one of those things where Vitor Belfort wasn't winning fights by submission. Vitor wasn't winning fights on the ground. Vitor was knocking folks out. So we could keep talking about MMA fighters who don't do boxing, as their thing. And yeah, you have one of the greatest to ever do it with Floyd Mayweather wasn't really in any danger by Conor McGregor, who was a pure striker. At the end of the day, what we're finding is that these MMA fighters who made their living striking, they're not bad at what they do. I mean, we think about Anderson Silva, right? Anderson Silva.
I'm over here looking up Vitor's last knockout other than Evander. Keep going.
Yeah, but Anderson Silva and Tito Ortiz are another one where Tito Ortiz made his living wrestling, whereas as Anderson Silva made his living knocking folks out, and we saw how long that fight lasts. Which brings me to my next story is Anderson Silva. There was a video that was posted online where Tito Ortiz was on video thanking Anderson Silva for giving up Anderson's first class ticket because there was a mix up in the travel home from the Triller fight, which was the co-main event of the Evander Holyfield Vitor Belfort fight, where only Tito Ortiz had a first class ticket. His wife did not. And so Anderson Silva, of course, had a first class ticket. And so Anderson Silva gave Tito Ortiz's wife the first class ticket so that she could sit in first class with her husband. And then I guess Anderson flew coach. But, at the same time, I think everyone's asking this question of, if you have two tickets, one's a first class ticket and one is a coach ticket, and you're flying with your spouse, who gets the first class ticket? Because in the marriage of Tito Ortiz and Tito Ortiz's wife, it seems, we don't have any evidence to know for sure, so this is allegedly, this is presumptively, it seems as though the answer in the Ortiz household is, I get the first class ticket. Wife, you go sit in the back. I'll send some peanuts your way once they hand out the hors d'oeuvres or whatever.
So it's not like I'm Michael Jackson, you're Tito. It's I'm Tito Jackson. I'm Tito Ortiz, you're whoever you are.
You're Randy. like I'm not Michael. I get it, but you Randy and I'm Tito. You Reeby.
Man, that's cold.
Then the real Michael showed up. And gave you a ticket.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
So, I think this goes.
Man.
It is. My bad. But at the same time, Anderson Silva, I think this is part of his legacy. I think that, as much as I believe that Royce Gracie is the GOAT of MMA, right? I it's one that I've stood on that forever. This that Anderson Silva is doing, and I think Dana White is the one who said it, is that these are the stories that will keep Anderson Silva relevant after his MMA career. I think these are the stories that go and show and humanize Anderson Silva. Anderson Silva has called everyone who suffered that same ankle leg break that he's suffered. He's called them all. He's been trying to help provide them some support. He's been, he's done this thing that the legend of Anderson Silva begins to grow, not in the ring, but now outside of the ring, and what he's doing as a humanitarian, as a human, to reach out to people who are suffering. And I think this is something that I think is vital for a person to be able to claim GOAT status. It's not the fighting and the winning in the ring, because anybody can do that. I mean, I proved that. I beat up Kelechi like 16 times. Twice.
Wow.
But because he's not here. He's in witness protection. He can't hear this.
Not only that.
I just need you, George, not to be texting Kelechi.
It's coaching. Sending him screenshots of the actual conversation where you're disparaging him.
Yeah, I don't need that.
Sending him.
I don't need that.
Hey, but Anderson is also coaching one of his sons who's fighting now too. So I mean, we're going to see Coach Anderson as well in this era of his life.
Right. And so imagine if Coach Anderson Silva is able to get a champion who is as dominant as he was in this modern era. So you've got Anderson Silva, the fighter who was dominant in his era. You've got Anderson Silva, the humanitarian who's done things to reach out to other fighters and to advocate for fighters, in his personal time, and to do things like giving up his seat in the first class for Tito Ortiz's wife. And then coaching someone to, these high levels of MMA and combat sports. If he's able to do that, I think he starts making that legitimate, well-rounded case that perhaps his impact on MMA goes far beyond just winning the UFC title. All right. Speaking of people who won the UFC title, Conor McGregor, former double champ, first double champ of the UFC, tried to pick a fight with Machine Gun Kelly, a.k.a. MGK, a rapper, at the MTV Video Music Awards. It was a really weird story. This is one of those stories that's kind of the, what did I miss?
So what did I miss?
No.
What did I miss?
Because of course this thing happened like on Sunday. We recorded the show, we published the show, and then Sunday night Conor McGregor starts throwing drinks at Machine Gun Kelly on the red carpet, and we're like, oh, we got to wait the entire week before we can talk about it. So yeah, basically the way that TMZ said that the story went is that Conor McGregor asked to take a picture with Machine Gun Kelly. Machine Gun Kelly's like, nah, fam, I'm not trying to take a picture with you, Conor McGregor. And Conor McGregor got pissed off, started throwing drinks, and they had to be separated. Conor McGregor's people said, no, Conor doesn't want to take a picture with Machine Gun Kelly. That's even ridiculous to mention it. And that's when Jake Paul was like, well, actually, what I believe happened is Conor McGregor thought Machine Gun Kelly was me. Because, of course, we know that Jake Paul has been trolling and continues to troll Conor McGregor. Even the necklace that he had made of Conor McGregor sleeping on the canvas that he gave to Dustin Poirier. Like, all of these things that it's entirely possible, blonde-haired, tall guy at the VMAs, it's possible that Conor could have mistaken identity and was trying to get at Jake Paul. And Machine Gun Kelly was actually the recipient of it. And, that's an interesting, crazy thing.
I mean,
I'm not finding one as likely. In this day and age, there's just, we got too many people around these guys for a mistake, a case of mistaken identity. And, somebody's in Conor's ear saying, "Oh, that's Megan over there. Oh, that's him over here. Or this, over here." And if it had been Jake Paul, especially considering that there's been this back and forth where he's been trolling, somebody would have been in Conor's ear. Hey, that's that damn Jake Paul over there. I think that should have been something else. I don't think that's the case.
But what if that person that was sitting there that was in Conor's ear did say, "Hey, isn't that Jake Paul over there?" Because, it's not like his team is known for rationality. I mean, they did jump on a plane and flew 18 hours to New York. Okay, to actually to try and get active on some people. Okay, I'm just saying it's a stretch. Mm-hmm. It's a real stretch. I can kind of see that it could be not Jake but Logan. He looks more on the Logan side of the game than Jake, because Jake's face is more fuller. However, you look at Logan Paul does have a skinnier face, a little more sunken face. I mean, Machine Gun Kelly has more sunken, possibly, I won't say chemically enhanced sunken face, but, there it is. So it could be possible. And then on top of that, we're hearing rumors that it wasn't Kelly that pushed him. It was security that pushed him out of the way. Mm-hmm. But I'm like, this is, Conor McGregor, okay? A lot of people know Conor McGregor more than they know Machine Gun Kelly.
And I think you may be right, though, because I think that Logan Paul is taller than Jake.
Yes.
So it could have been that he thought it was Logan Paul. And so, because I know that Logan jawed off with Conor as well. And then I think you're right, too, in saying that Conor isn't exactly known for thinking things through. I thought it was funny that he was like, I don't fight people who aren't fighters. Like, well, who was that dude that you punched in the bar?
Well, everybody Irish is a boxer.
That old dude in the punch in the bar, because I don't think he was a fighter. So, Conor, you do fight fighters, and it's entirely possible that that you were trying to get at Machine Gun Kelly, whether you thought it was Jake, Logan, or indeed you knew who it was. Of course, whenever a fighter gets into trouble, the first person people want to go to and talk to is Dana White, president of the UFC. And Dana White's like, "Look, guys, I oversee," he said, 700 lunatics. He goes, this is the fight game. What do you think is going to happen? I can't be here giving you an explanation and a rationale every time somebody acts out. Like, this is like, what do you expect from me? He goes, "This isn't Microsoft. This isn't a company where everybody is the brightest bulb in the box. No, this is the fight game. This is the fight business, and crazy stuff is going to happen. It's just, that's the way it is." And I'm like, you know what, Dana, you're right. Daniel Cormier actually commented on this as well, and Daniel said, perhaps Conor McGregor has been this gimmick for too long. Now, I'm not going to say the actual quote from Tropic Thunder, but you know the quote that I'm talking about. You never go full.
Never go full Conor, huh?
Yeah. And so Daniel Cormier is saying that perhaps Conor has gone full Conor, and he believes the gimmick. He's lost the line where you're Conor the business person, Conor the dedicated fighter, Conor the father, Conor all of these virtues that we all as a society hold to be true, versus Conor the jerk business billionaire who wears these, expensive suits, flies in expensive planes, and does all of these things. It's a gimmick. It's a persona. It's how you were able to get your following so big, that bravado that we love so much, him on the mic, that that can't be the guy that's at home. And if you lose the visibility between the line between the guy on the mic who is disrespectful and all of those things, and you're that person all the time, then things like this happen. Which brings me, and then I'll let you guys comment, to the Chael Sonnen video. That Chael is rising very quickly to become one of my favorite commentators in MMA, because I think that he did a great job of providing context around what Daniel Cormier was saying. Is we make many references to WWE professional wrestling. And if you're going to be a great professional wrestler, you have to live the gimmick that you have in the ring in real life. The best example is Hulk Hogan is not going to get a restaurant and book a restaurant as Terry Bollea, right? He's going to book it as Hulk Hogan, because the persona that you live in the ring is the persona that you have to live in real life for it to work. But you, in your head, have to always be able to keep the line as strong as possible so you don't fall into believing it, which is what Chael Sonnen said Ric Flair did. Ric Flair lost the line. He began to believe that he was the high profiling guy that the famous quote that Ric Flair did. And Ric Flair ended up spending up all his money. Didn't have, all of the things that happened to Ric Flair. And now he's in his 60s, in his 70s, and he's still trying to make it because he lost. He went full Ric Flair. He went full Conor, And so what I'm interested in hearing your perspectives is this gimmick that Conor has. Do you see that Conor can still tell the difference between who he is as a human versus who he is as a persona? Or do you think that it is gone? Or do you think there never was a gimmick, that Conor was always this guy the whole time?
Who wants it first? All right.
Conor is being Conor. This is who Conor is. And it's both sides. It's the angel and the devil. It's the duality of man. It's the duality of a fighter. He felt offended, so he acted out. It's like Dana White did. I got lunatics in the UFC. These guys, Conor gets hit in the head for a living. That in and of itself tells you that there is some mental incohesiveness. So,
all right, John Keys, what do you think?
Well, yeah, you can't, thank God for Robert Downey Jr. for that line. It's just like with John Jones. John Jones, for God knows how many years, he came off as this very, down to earth fighter, that guy that was just hungry and everything like that. But little did we know that there was a monster inside. We saw peaks of it from time to time. And then finally, he just let it all hang out. And I think that's what's happened with Conor. That he may have came calm and everything, and confident fighter, but eventually it started hanging out, and he can't put it back in. So he's 100% out there now. He's out in the game. He's for the streets.
Yeah. As for me, I really think that Conor McGregor, I still think that I think he's holding on by his fingernails to the guy that he was when he started the UFC, when he was a Cage Warrior 2-time champion, when he was the Paddy Pimblett of the teens. It's kind of one of those things now that too many more of these, because I've had the luxury of knowing people who live in Dublin who are adjacent to Conor McGregor, and they have told stories of how after Conor McGregor became a celebrity, he began to act out, even in Dublin. And we've seen certain things happen. We've seen him smashing phones. We've seen him punching people. We've seen, those stories. And those are the stories that make the air. There are other stories that I've been privy to of Conor McGregor, possibly acting out in ways that his affluence and the money that he has affords him the ability to do so. his notoriety, he's able to kind of push people around and be a bit of a bully, where it's not illegal, where it doesn't make the news. And so I think that that Conor McGregor is holding on for dear life to that, to the normality of what it is that we hold those values to be true. And I think that he's very quickly losing his grip on the reality of being a normal person. He's becoming the gimmick. He's going full Conor. And it may play well for his career, but I don't know that it's going to play well for his relationships. I don't know that it's going to play well for his sanity longer term. Because
but Ryan, you got to ask the question: how's his career going right now?
I think Chael Sonnen said it best. Conor is broken. He's healing. He doesn't have a fight booked, and we're still talking about him.
Mm.
So his career's going pretty well considering. But what happens when you reach these later ages? Because Conor's like early 30s. What happens when you reach those later ages and all you've ever been is the bad boy billionaire Conor McGregor, if you will? What happens then?
He becomes like Tito Ortiz.
Perhaps he does.
Yeah,
perhaps he does.
Remember, Tito was the Huntington Beach bad boy, doing crazy things, and then, now you're on Triller, getting knocked out.
Yeah, and so, that's something that we're going to watch long term, is what happens to Conor McGregor, because at the end of the day, we are going to see whether or not the game that he plays today is going to finally sunset and he becomes a normal person again, or if he's going to try to live out this persona, this gimmick, for the rest of his life. I'm excited to see that. Speaking of rest of their lives, there are two fighters that are notable fighters that we've talked about a lot on this podcast, and that is Carlos Condit and Joseph Benavides. Both of them have announced their retirements from the MMA and from the UFC this week. Carlos Condit, of course, is the natural born killer, former WEC champion, interim champion for the UFC, and had some of the best fights. One of those was against George St. Pierre. Another one was against Robbie Lawler, probably Robbie Lawler's second greatest fight of all time. First one being Rory McDonald, but the second one, right after the Rory McDonald fight, was the bruiser, bloody, back and forth Carlos Condit versus Robbie Lawler. Those were some of great fights, and a great career ends with Carlos Condit this past week. Joseph Benavides, of course, being the first fighter ever to win at 125 pounds in the UFC. And he tried several times to win that belt, but unfortunately, Mighty Mouse had other things for him. Joseph Benavides also tried to beat Davidson Figueiredo, got knocked out. It got overturned. Got another chance. It got choked out the second time. And unfortunately, Joseph Benavides joins the list of fighters who were the greatest fighters never to win a title. Any thoughts on these careers?
Well, I'm gonna say it like this: Carlos Condit, he definitely deserves a place in the Hall of Fame under the fight wing, because he has some absolute brutal fights. And Joseph Benavides, hey man, if you go in there and do everything you want to do, if you can go to sleep at night, at the end of the day, that's all that matters. Okay, live your life the way that you can go to sleep at night, knowing you're good. With that being said, I think Benavides is not sleeping well, because if you ever watched the video, it was like he kind of was being flippant about it, but he wasn't. And, it was kind of heartbreaking to hear him say that he was retiring. With Carlos Condit, I believe, yes, he's good. He's done it all. He's like, yeah, I'm good. But with Benavides, I don't think he was good. And that's the sad part of the story.
Yeah, you don't think he was ready to retire. No. The joke, of course, that I was sending back and forth via text was, Megan was like, Joe, it's time.
Yeah,
it's time. Like, you know, I wonder how influential Megan O'Leary was in having Joe retired. I'm not saying that, you know, I'm not making the point that that I hear myself sounding like I'm making. So let me clarify. It's just that she was ringside when Davidson Figueroa knocked him out cold.
Yes.
She was there at ringside. She was not there because she did not want to be there when he fought again and got choked out. Mm-hmm. And being in this sport and seeing what's happening at 125 pounds with Brandon Moreno coming, with, you know, with all these other fighters, I think that you start looking at your husband and saying, I care about you long term. You have a role in this family to fulfill, and I need you to stop. Joe, it's time.
Yes, Joe, it's time to become Mr. O'Leary.
Oof.
That's all you have to do.
See, I wasn't going there, but you did it. You did it. You did it. The only thing I can respond to that is the only thing I can respond to is this right here. What you just heard is solely the opinion of the speaker and does not reflect the opinions of anyone else on the Combat Sports Talk podcast or anyone affiliated with this program. Gotta play that. It wouldn't be John Keys on this show if I didn't have to play that at least once a week.
Yeah, it's lies. You know you wanted to say it. Okay, I just have to say it for y'all. But that's okay. I'll take the heat. Hey, it's okay. Become Mr. O'Leary. Chill out. You've done it, man. Okay, I get it. You got that aggression in you. Like, man, I could be doing this. No, dog. No, man. You got knocked out. Your wife was there when you got knocked out, and then you got choked out by the same dude. Let it go, man. Let it go. Be Mr. O'Leary.
The one thing that I do have to say is, you know, something is up when at Saturday's UFC Vegas 37, they had a whole video montage of Carlos Condit's career as they wished him well in his in his retirement. And after that plays, they're like, oh yeah, and Joseph Benavides. So I'm hoping
that translates. Somebody pulled themselves out of the Asada pool, and somebody didn't. Okay, that's all I'm saying.
What I'm hoping is that for UFC 266, which is coming up this weekend, that we get a Joseph Benavides montage. But it was conspicuous by its absence that Carlos Condit had a whole package. Joseph Benavides got a good luck, sir, and that was it. And it was pretty telling. So let's go ahead and go ahead.
Before you go, they both announced on the same time Monday, right? Monday or Tuesday. That's all I'm saying. So you can hold your breath all you want to, Ryan. All right, I'm just saying they both announced it on the same day, and there it is. On to the next part.
Yeah, I did not see a package for Joseph Benavides. That sucks. But let's go ahead and, you know, when we're talking about maybe we'll see a package at UFC 266. That's coming up this weekend. Let's do it. This is the fight card. This is the fight card. This is where we talk about the fights that are coming up on Saturday night. This is Volkanovski versus Ortega, UFC 266, Saturday, September 25th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada. We've got 5 fights on the card. Jessica Andraj is back. The pile driver fighting Cynthia Calvillo. You've got Curtis Razor Blades versus Yarzinho Rosenstruck. You've got Nick Diaz, the return of the big Billy Goat Gruff. Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler in what might be Robbie Lawler's last fight of his career. You've got the co-main event, women's flyweight champion Valentina Shevchenko versus the lamb being led to slaughter. And you've got UFC featherweight champion Alexander Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega. Yes, Lauren Murphy. Like, come on, bro. Like, do we really feel like we're going to make flash fight picks? Let's do the whole card. But do we really feel like Lauren Murphy? Do we feel like she's got the juice? Like, everybody has a chance Like, but we're talking about Dumb and Dumber chance. Like,
Oh my God.
Nobody
dumb.
expected Holly Holmes to walk in and knock out Ronda Rousey, and we saw it. And I'm just saying.
Yes, but it's Dumb and Dumber. It's like, I forgot what the actual quote is, but like,
but you got a chance. But I have a chance.
But you're saying there's a chance. Yes, there is a chance. Probability, the possibility of Valentina Shevchenko losing to Lauren Murphy is some number greater than 0. The possibility of the probability of Valentina Shevchenko losing to Lauren Murphy is like, I mean, how many zeros goes before the 1?
So let's just before I even acknowledge that, we forgot to acknowledge one thing about the Lionheart versus Spann fight. Who's the ref for that? That was Herb Dean, was it not? Herb Dean was the ref.
Oh, I think it was. Yeah.
Where was he when all the violence was going down? When they had to fill in the ring and everything? Did was Herb like, the fight gods have been appeased for this, or because I need to know who's going to be the referee for that, for the Shevchenko Murphy fight, because I think it might be Herb again, and if it is, once again somebody's being sacrificed to the fight gods. Okay, and I wow, are we? See, ladies and gentlemen, what you're not seeing off screen is that Ryan has built now he puts Murphy in there, but at first Ryan was not going to put a fight pick for Shevchenko or Murphy. He just put Shevchenko there and just left it. Okay.
I mean, I gotta put it, but I'm making the list so that we can keep track of who made what pick. And the thing is, it's like, I challenge both of you. I challenge both of you to choose Lauren Murphy. Like, do it. There's a chance she gonna win. There's a chance.
Go ahead, George.
I know we're on the fight card picks, but I need to go ahead and get off of here. I've got a meeting I got to get into.
All right.
You want my picks real quick?
Make your picks real quick.
All right. First fight of the night. Which one was it?
Jessica Andraj versus Cynthia Calvillo.
I'm going with the pile driver.
All right.
Curtis Blades versus Rosenstruck. I'm going to go with Rosenstruck, man. I think Curtis is having problems with strikers.
Okay.
Robbie Lawler and Nick Diaz. I'm going to go with Robbie Lawler. I feel like Nick's been out of competition too long, and he's going to have a mountain to overcome. Valentina versus Murphy. Definitely going with Valentina.
All right.
And Alexander Volkanovsky versus Brian Ortega. I'm going to step outside the normal box here, and I'm going to call it. It's Brian Ortega's time, ladies and gentlemen. He's improved his striking very much. I think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to be a lot of back and forth. But I think Brian, out of some of his recent fights, he's just leveled up to a level, especially when it comes to just that pure grit of being able to stay in a fight when you're getting your butt handed to you. So I'm going with Brian Ortega, new UFC 145-pound champ. Gotta go.
All
love
right.
you guys.
All right, we'll see you.
All right, we love you.
Okay, so John Keys, you heard George Stallworth's picks. How about you make yours now? What you got? Well, you just go through all 5 ones. We'll start you at the top. Jessica Andrade versus Cynthia Calvillo.
Ooh, hard. I'm gonna go with Andrade as well. She's just a monster in the ring. Okay, let's just put it like that. I also agree with George with Rosenstruck. I think Curtis Blades does have a serious problem with strikers, and there's not a better striker that he can face than that. Nick Diaz and Robbie Lawler. I'm gonna say the people win this fight. Okay, because it doesn't matter. The people win. Okay, that's what I'm going with.
No. You got to pick one.
Well, I'm going to pick the Diaz. I'm going to pick Diaz because I'm like, there's going to be violence. There's going to be brutality. There's going to be smack talk. We love it. Shevchenko versus Murphy. Mom raised a crazy man, not a foolish one. We're going to go with Shevchenko on this one. And, of course, I'm going to pick Brian Ortega. I mean, nothing against Volkanovski. If it was anybody else, I probably would pick Volkanovski. but because Brian Ortega, he has proven that, he has said many times that when he goes into a fight, he's generally thinking on his feet. Okay, he doesn't really have a plan to fight fighters. This is the first time that he's actually going in with a plan to fight fire. I think this is where we see him extremely level up into something different. So I have Ortega to get this one, and he's a Gracie fighter, so that means he's going to die in the ring, and Herb Dean is waiting. So
we found out that Herb Dean is actually, the what's his name that crosses the river Styx. He's that guy.
He's Chiron. Yeah, there you go. Yeah. He's like, I'm waiting.
So I'm gonna go through mine now, and
come on.
Brian. I think for my first pick, I'm gonna go with Jessica Andraj. Cynthia Calvillo is great, but Jessica Andraj is greater. Former champion, very physical. Jessica's got really manhandled by Valentina Shevchenko, but that's probably the only person in the UFC that's going to be able to treat Jessica Andrade like that. Everything else is going to be a close fight, and I think Cynthia Calvillo is going to see that her number 5 rating is about where she needs to be ranked. So we'll see here.
2, you really, in this case, if you're not number 2, you don't need to be fighting number 1.
Right. In this Curtis Blades versus Lorenzo Rosenstruck, I have this love-hate relationship with Curtis Blades because I really do think he's a talented fighter. I think his wrestling is a game changer at heavyweight. And so I on the one hand, as much as I want to go with Curtis Blades, I'm gonna go with Curtis Blades one more time. Curtis Blades, if I will never pick you again. You could be fighting my 8-year-old son, and I'm gonna pick my 8-year-old son if you don't win this fight. You have outstanding wrestling. You've got great striking. You've got all the tools you need to be great in the UFC at heavyweight. Bro, put it together. Get Rosenstruck out of there. Get him on the ground. You can do this.
But see, but I'm just saying you're forgetting a couple of first thing. That's pretty cold blooded that you wouldn't pick your own son. All right. Second, look at the people that Blades is losing to. Consider the source, man. He's not losing towards Joe Schmo. He's losing against the very best.
Yeah, but I question whether or not Rosenstruck is the very best. And so I think that what we're going to see is that someone like Curtis Blades has an opportunity to either, what they say, fish or cut bait, right? Like, dude, you got to be able to get these big dudes on the ground and work your magic. If you can't, then it's not going to get any better for you going up the ladder. This is basically Curtis Blades is in that same Cynthia Calvillo position where you're right in the middle. You're in striking distance of a title shot, but you got to be able to fight these dudes, and you got to be able to take them to the ground and hold them there and beat them up. And frankly, this is really one of your last shots to show that you can do that. Nick Diaz versus Robbie Lawler. I'm going with Robbie Lawler. I like what George said. In that Nick Diaz hasn't been in the game for a while, and so he's going to be a little rusty. But also Robbie Lawler, I think, brings a striking capability that I think is going to be a bit more aggressive. The kickboxing and striking that he's going to have, I think, the ability to grapple a little bit. He's going to keep himself out of the chokes that the jiu-jitsu that Nick Diaz is going to bring. I think Robbie Lawler is going to get it done. I think that's going to be by decision. Part of me wants to choose Lauren Murphy just because everyone is not choosing Lauren Murphy. And, on the off chance that she were to shock the world and beat Valentina Shevchenko, I'd be the only one being like, I knew it. I picked it.
It's not going to happen. Go ahead.
Nostradamus. But I really do think that this is a binary type of the nature takes its course. There's only a few people that can even challenge Valentina Shevchenko, and her name ain't Lauren Murphy.
And you know what? This is what we're seeing with a lot of the division is that they're getting that bottleneck where you got this apex animal sitting on top, and then there's everybody else.
Right.
And we're seeing it for the second time here. We got another apex animal and Shevchenko that's forcing the whole division to evolve and yes, until then, she's just sitting there.
And I want to respond to George's comments. Like, we didn't think Holly Holm could beat Ronda Rousey. Very true. And you go back to the shows that we did leading up to the Ronda Rousey fight, and I was like, it's going to be almost impossible for Holly Holm to win this fight.
Right.
The caveat, hindsight being 2020, is that Ronda Rousey had suspect striking. And when Ronda Rousey got into the ring with Holly Holm, she tried to outstrike a striker, and she wasn't able to, after she'd taken so much damage, to get this fight to the ground. I would argue that if Ronda Rousey came in there from jump and was trying to grapple, trying to get this fight on the ground and look for the armbar, she might still be champion today. The challenge that I have with Valentina Shevchenko is name the weakness that Valentina Shevchenko has. She doesn't. She doesn't have a weakness. So anywhere that Lauren Murphy wants to take this fight, Valentina Shevchenko, who showed that the only question we had was, can Valentina Shevchenko wrestle with Jessica Andraj? And who got ragdolled? Jessica Andraj. So I don't think Lauren Murphy is going to have the diverse skill set and the capabilities and the experience and the focus that Valentina Shevchenko has shown. If anyone's going to beat Valentina Shevchenko, her name's going to be Valentina Shevchenko.
Yeah. I mean, she's literally like the Broly of the division right now, where, you know, it doesn't matter what you bring. Broly's there and he's bored.
Yep. And so that's where fighters end up losing, is that they don't take an opponent seriously. They get too much into themselves and what they can do and all that kind of stuff. And that's when they lose. I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening from Valentina Shevchenko.
And she's literally like a GSP. She is a female version of GSP. She's got that discipline, that mindset, and good luck. When she leaves is when she loses. Okay. And let's remember, even GSP had a crack. So we'll see. It's possible. I'm gonna have to get the quote from Dumb and Dumber and add it to my drops so that so you're saying there's a chance. There's a chance. I'm not gonna to dismiss Lauren Murphy's ability to earn her shot at a title. She did that. She beat up a lot of women to do so. But at the end of the day, come on, bro. Like it's not gonna be even close. And then in the main event of the evening, Alexander Volkanovsky versus Brian Ortega. I know a lot of people are hot on Brian Ortega, but let's remember Brian Ortega got messed up by Max Holloway. Brian Ortega got beat up, got beat down, was silly, all swollen. He looked like Calvin Kattar part 1.0, right? Like, Calvin Kattar got the worst of it, but before Calvin Kattar, there was Brian Ortega. Alexander Volkanovsky, on the other hand, fought Max Holloway to two great fights, very close fights. People still debate whether or not Max Holloway lost the second fight. I don't see Brian Ortega being able to strike with Alexander Volkanovsky. And if this fight's going to have to go to the ground for Ortega, and I just don't think that he's going to be able to get it there. So I'm going with Alexander Volkanovsky for the win. But hey, if Brian Ortega wins it, he'll be the champion with the prettiest eyes and the prettiest hair. You used to date Holly Berry, right?
I did not, but
Yeah, he also had Holly Berry.
Yeah, and that's a connection with Valentina Shevchenko because Holly Berry and Valentina Shevchenko were in a movie together. All right, so that's it. That's our show. Before we go, though, I want to say that I want to send a shout out to FeedSpot. FeedSpot is a podcast aggregator, and they posted their top 50 podcasts you must follow in 2021, and they named Combat Sports Talk, this show, the number 24 podcast that you should follow in 2021. So I want to send a shout out to FeedSpot blog. We are so proud and honored to be named and considered among some of the greatest podcasts in MMA out there in the world. Naming us number 24 in the top 50, that is a big honor for us, and I'm so thankful to FeedSpot blog for considering us.
And I appreciate that too, but I really want to send a shout out to everybody that watches us. Okay. People around the world. Anj, okay, he posted up here. It is you too. I want to send a shout out to you because it's people like y'all that come and watch our show that we do it for. We do it for y'all. Okay, ultimately, I mean, we may sit around and we may talk. I mean, I've told it to Ryan many times that I'm just talking about what I love to a friend, and he just happens to record it. But in reality, it's about y'all. Okay, we want. Not only do we want to send, talk about what we love, what we're passionate about, but we also want to inform other people too. Okay, and we want to entertain as well. So, I want to send a shout out to y'all as well. Okay, thank you.
Well said.
I'm good. I'm happy. I'm satisfied. Every time I walk away from this podcast, I say every day I did exactly what I wanted to do on that podcast, even when I'm talking crazy. Okay?
All right. Well,
Amen.
Well, hey, the fans make it happen. Thank you so much. What you can do for us is keep listening, keep watching, and keep interacting with us. Keep telling us what you want to hear about, asking the questions that you want that you want, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to make a show that's entertaining for you guys and perhaps educate a little bit along the way. Follow us on social media. On Instagram, I'm at Combat Sports Talk.
I'm at Keys to Victory, and that's Keys with the ES.
All right, and George, you missed him, but he is at Darkside _ Muay Thai _
Yes.
Let's see here. You can find us on our website at www.combatsportstalk.com, and we are on all of your favorite podcasting platforms. I want to send a shout out to MMA Junkie, MMA Fighting, MMA Mania, Bloody Elbow, the Intelligent Defense Discussion Group, ESPN. We got a lot of stories from ESPN this week, and all the other sites that are providing stories we use on this show. On behalf of John Keys, my name is Ryan Smith, reminding you to keep your hands up, your chin tucked, and throw bombs. We'll catch you next time.